potassium is radioactive potassium-40. The half-life is like 10 billion years, okay? So the more potassium you take in, the more radiation you're taking in. There's about 1,400 picocuries of potassium in every liter of milk. You like drinking milk? There's potassium in bananas. Remember they tell you take potassium, eat your bananas, it'll stop you from cramping? It's about 4 times your background.
What was the background?
Background's less than 50 counts a minute. That's actually about 200 counts a minute. How about this? Anybody recognize what this is? It's a lantern mantle. The older form in lantern mantles, they put thorium, natural thorium, in lantern mantles because it makes them glow. It just so happens that all thorium is also radioactive. I'm not trying to scare you. I'm trying to show you the things that are out here.
Mr. Brown, we are curious to know if we can move on to the segment of the show where we hear from our constituents.
Yes, sir. I just have one more thing I want to show. It'll take about 10 seconds. Just one more thing, all right?
Thank you for your presentation. Legislators here in Tallahassee are very concerned and we want to hear from the constituents.
I understand, sir. I'm finished.
We're eager to hear the question and answer of
I'm willing to take questions for the radiation aspects of it.
The high levels! The high levels. We know there's low levels. What about the high levels of radiation? Can you try to explain why? In our water. In our water. Why don't you address that?
All over the state. Why did you have to do that?
We know those numbers for us. We don't need to
Okay. The radiation in the water, there was, I think, 39 wells, 49 wells tested. They were trying to do a grid sampling to try and get a good idea of what the radiation would be across the entire complex. They did test. They found high radium content in some of the waters. They found levels, I believe, as high as 24 picocuries per liter of radium, radium-226.
Wouldn't that be a good reason to test together?
Around
Why are they letting this guy yell at him? He needs to get up to the mic and do it the proper way.
All right, I'm going to ask John to take a seat with the rest of our panel. You can ask your questions. He's not running away. We're going to answer those, but we'd like to do it in as orderly a fashion as we possibly can. But to begin this question session, there are 2 people who have received a number of questions from their constituents in their groves, and that's or their area, and that's Michelle Damone from the President of the Indian Trails Improvement District, and Commissioner Jess Santa Maria. So if I could have you two address the questions that you have first to get this ball rolling. Commissioner, you have, or Michelle?
They thought we were full of crap 6 months ago.
Exactly. Yeah, now she wants to stand up.
I represent the community. I have every right to
You're a poor representative.
Back, Michelle.
You're a poor representative.
You were against us the whole time.
That's right. You fought against them.
What side are you on now?
Show you the door, Michelle.
Thank you.
Commissioner, I'll speak first, thank you. On behalf of the constituents here in the Acreage Indian Trail Improvement District, all 5 Board of Supervisors are here tonight. The majority of us, actually 4 out of 5 of us, have children, and they're all under the age of 18. We live out here, or have to live out here. In order to represent the Indian Trail Improvement District, you have to reside here, and I reside here for the last 13 years. And I represent all people of the acreage. So when there's a certain group of people who feel one extreme, and then there's another group of people who feel the other extreme, it is my task to find that middle ground and that job to represent everybody. And I think the commonality of all acreage residents is that we want answers. I've waited diligently and patiently, like everybody else did, to hear from the state health department on whether there was a cancer cluster or not. I did not want to jump to conclusions. I wanted to wait. We got that information on February 1st. But unfortunately, I don't think the community got straight answers or solid answers. I think they were left open-ended, and we only got half the answers. And therefore, I've heard through emails, blogs, phone calls, and the other Board of Supervisors have heard from our community too. So I had questions that I wanted to ask the panel on behalf of the community. Commissioner Santa Maria has a direct letter from the Indian Trail Improvement District Board of Supervisors and the Board of County Commissioners that he wants to read it for the record. Some of the questions I have on here you've answered this evening, specifically was the legal definition of a cancer cluster. Because it was interesting to see some of Dr. Alonzo's information that she distributed out in print didn't reference a cancer cluster. And then in the paper, in the Palm Beach Post, when she did her visual interview, she referenced cancer cluster. So tonight you gave us a legal description of a cancer cluster. The other thing is that there was an email written on 2/3 from Mr. O'Connor. It was written by Dr. Watkins, and it reads, "I think the phrase cancer cluster produces great anxiety, and I hope that this explanation helps. Environmental sampling to date, results that I'm aware of, do not show any widespread environmental contaminant in your area. Does the Florida Department of Health plan on filing a legal instrument in our court system declaring an acreage a cancer cluster?" That was one of the questions I had. Since Dr. Alonzo identified the acreage of cancer cluster on Monday, February 1st, does the terminology, the acreage, include all units within the Indian Trail Improvement District known as the acreage, or is there a specific geographical area the cluster is contained within the acreage? And that is very important. On February 3rd, 2010, the Palm Beach Post, Dr. Alonzo admits that the significantly elevated pediatric cancer cluster had not been compared to any other community in Palm Beach County or South Florida. And Dr. Watkins' email on February 3rd states, pediatric brain cancers are thought to be on the rise, both nationally and internationally. Then why didn't the Florida Department of Health not take the time to calculate community comparables or review cancer diagnosis statistics within our area versus national?
Michelle, can they address those questions?
Let me finish and then please address. Let me finish because I represent 50,000 people and I disagree with you. On Monday, February 1st, 2010, press conference with Dr. Alonzo, she states that they didn't plan on any further testing, but to focus on awareness of childhood brain cancer. Could someone please state for the record, and I heard it this evening, that phase 2 will be completed? I did hear that tonight. I just want to hear you basically say amen, because further testing is important to this community. I reviewed the 3 different methodologies used to determine the population to be approximately 39,000. I was pleased to see that you clarified that did go up to 2007, because build out, our boom was 2005, 2007. So I wanted to make sure that the population calculations reflected accurately. I actually think you did a good job with that to the best of your ability. Dr. Watkins further states in her February 3rd email, although the numbers do not show a statistically elevated rate of pediatric cancer, particularly among female children, although the numbers do show, of pediatric cancer, particularly among female children, these children did not all have the exact same type of brain cancer. Could you explain the different types of cancers identified, and is a cluster a single type of cancer? And our community has been suspicious of radon or radium contamination. Have any of these homes been tested for radon or radium? You answered that this evening. I'd like to see that you're expanding that. If so, where were any of the results of water quality, radon nucleoid sampling at the homes of those children in the cluster group? You answered that this evening. Does radon or radium cause brain cancer? I heard lung cancer and I heard bone cancer tonight, but I want to know if it causes brain cancer or if it causes a brain tumor. And speaking of research, is the family research completed? You answered that this evening. If not, why did the Florida Health Department designate our community as a cluster prior to the research being completed? And it's very important to know this, that we are non-incorporated, we are not a municipality. Indian Trail Improvement District is a limited government. We only provide roads, drainage, parks, and a limited utilities. We honestly are restricted on how much we can do for you with this. We were left out. There was no FYI to us or to the Palm Beach County of your local government on the information they were providing on February 1st. That's how limited we are. But we realize what a passionate community this is. How many of us have volunteered, PTA, coaching, you name it. So we are not a tight community. So all 5 Board of Supervisors are community leaders, and that's why we have put our foot in the door, we stuck our nose where it belongs, because we live here too, and we represent you, and we will continue to be active. Thank you.
Dr. Watkins, I think, would you like to begin, and then maybe Dr. Turner would have.
Sure. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, great. There were a lot of questions, so I hope I get to answer all of them. I want to start with the first one, which was the definition of a cluster and some concerns about a legal definition. Cancer cluster is a statistical term or an epidemiological term, and I'm not aware of a legal definition of that or legal reports on that, but I'm not an attorney, and we are writing that question down to take to our attorneys. I can't answer that kind of legal issue. More importantly, you asked a question, is there a specific geographic area the cluster is contained within the acreage? The answer is no. You asked if pediatric brain cancers are on the rise nationally and internationally, why we didn't take the time to do more comparison. And I think that what we did do in the level 1 report, and it was long and it was a little lengthy and a lot of tables in it, but we did compare your community to the county. We compared your community to the state. And then we also actually compared the zip code areas as well. So we did do some comparisons, and these are actually the standard type of comparisons done in this sort of analysis. So I'm not sure that was clear in the first report. I hope it was, but I think we did handle that.
Excuse me, but that's exactly why there's misinformation out there, because Dr. Alonso was quoted in the Palm Beach Post as saying that there was no comparables done in this county or in South Florida, and that is why you have a very angry crowd in this room this evening, because it's constant misinformation.
Well, I can't address interviews that I wasn't present at. I can just tell you that yes, pediatric brain cancer is on the rise nationally and internationally, that's a concern of researchers, universities, our National Cancer Institute, NIH. You know, and those kind of statistics are happening and those kind of studies are happening at a national and international level. But what concerns you is what's happening here. And so I didn't compare you to rates in China, We compared rates to...
No, you're just being funny.
No, I mean...
compared it to other communities within Palm Beach County, and you could have done some comparisons within South Florida.
We chose the best comparison, which is used standardly, which is we looked at the whole zip code. We compared the acreage to what was happening in the 3 big zip codes. We compared the acreage to what was happening in the county without the acreage, and we compared the acreage to what was happening in Florida in general, which is a very big state. And so, I mean, you may not be happy with all the comparisons we did, but again, these are things that are done standardly, and this is how most investigations of cancer are handled. Moving on to another question, we did talk, or we had a slide on the number of different types of cancers, pediatric brain cancers, and there were a number of them. And your question, is a cluster a single type of cancer? Well, yeah, typically a cancer cluster is defined by a very specific kind of cancer. But unfortunately, we're in a gray area of science, and brain cancers, because they are very rare, they frequently, in research and in the literature, are lumped together for analysis. And that's how a lot of statistics are handled at this. So we chose to use that definition, and of course that's something we're discussing with our federal partners as well.
So the cancer cluster is not a single cancer? Is that what you're saying?
No, I said that normally, when you're looking at clusters, you're looking at a very specific type of cancer. Like, for instance, you're looking at a very specific type of bone cancer. And in this case, the science is a little gray because this particular type of cancer is so rare. So often in the literature, in fact, most often in the literature, pediatric brain cancers are lumped together, and we did that in this situation. Again, this is a question we asked and are asking with our federal partners, and we'll continue to work with them on that. Your question, does radon or radium cause brain cancer? The literature does not support that at this time, that they're not linked. I think I got it.
Thank you. Thank you for answering those questions. I don't want to...
All right.
Just for a second.
Wait a minute, wait. I had committed Commissioner Santa Maria. He, again, just like Ms. Damone, represents 50,000. Commissioner Santa Maria represents probably 250,000. So, I will give him his few moments. I'm trying to keep this in order. Thank you very much. And if the lady who is behind him is willing to yield to him, I'm okay with that. But I'm going back and staying with what we committed to at the beginning. Thank you.
I'm running for office here.
Yeah, good evening. You know, although I don't live in the acreage, having lived in the Western communities for 36 years, I consider myself your neighbor and friend. I have heard you loud and clear. I've attended all the meetings over the last 6 months. So the message is loud and clear. Your government has not done enough. It is time for us to have a more aggressive and more decisive action. And therefore, Michelle Damone, representing Indian Trails, and myself, representing District 6, decided yesterday to send a letter to the governor today to ask him to take over and give us decisive action. This is the letter we sent the governor today. The Palm Beach County Board of Commissioners and Indian Trail Improvement District are concerned about the Florida Department of Health's position on the Acreage Cancer Cluster, reported in the media February 1st, 2010. At the minimum, the information released by the Palm Beach County Division of the Florida Department of Health lacked sufficient details. It is critical questions be addressed and assistance offered immediately. It is now imperative to move forward with focused intergovernmental cooperation and coordination, and that is the purpose of this letter. On behalf of the Acreage residents, the Indian Trail Improvement District Board President Michelle Simone and District Commissioner Jess Santa Maria of Palm Beach County Board of Commissioners have prepared this joint letter requesting your direct involvement for immediate scientific and financial assistance. We join the many other elected officials who have contacted you, such as U.S. Senator Bill Nelson, State Representative Carl Domino, Joseph Abruzzo, Mark Pafford, and Kevin Rader, requesting that you provide leadership to assure that the specific actions below, which are critically important to our residents, occur. Number one, more research must be conducted by the appropriate state agencies to determine or rule out the causes of this situation. While individual water wells may not ultimately prove to be at fault, we request that your office actively pursue financial assistance for our residents to provide public water distribution through a combination of federal and state funding. You know, if this county and this state can spend hundreds of millions of dollars for scripts and Max Planck,
Or Beeline, yeah. Yeah, we've already been wrong.
We must establish a community outreach and information program with frequent updates so that the public is informed. Intergovernmental communication is key to serving our residents. We would ask that the Board of County Commissioners and Indian Trail Improvement District receive timely updates with comprehensive information so that we can better serve our constituents. We look forward to your positive consideration and respectively request your assistance in creating a forceful plan of action.
Thank you, Commissioner Santa Maria, and I think Dr. Turner will be happy to not only, I know the letter was delivered, but I know Dr. Turner will personally help take that message back to the governor, who's made those commitments to us to help and do whatever it takes to hopefully find some answers for all of you here. Okay, thank you, Commissioner Santa Maria. Thank you, Dr. Turner. Would you like to?
I hope in the presentation everyone heard us reinforce again that the testing is going to continue initially with the families that have been impacted by children who have had cancer, and then as additional information comes in, we look to broaden. We have committed on behalf of the Surgeon General, on behalf of the governor. You've heard the governor state himself. He is fully in support of further investigation, further testing. We are committed to doing that. We absolutely understand the frustration. We hear you. We truly do hear you. We are doing everything we can. We've looked to...
And why are you drinking bottled water?
Please. Thank you.
We are here to answer your questions. We are not taking this lightly. I know there's been a disconnect between us and you around this issue, but I can't stress anymore that the governor is in communication and talks to the Surgeon General. The Surgeon General is very closely, I mean, weekly we have calls with all representatives throughout the state to make sure that we're moving forward, that we're supporting our county health department, that we're supporting you all.
Thank you.
Thank you. Gentleman over here to my left, your right if you're looking at me, sorry.
Good evening, I'm Jeff Buxbaum. I'm a radiation oncologist and I'm a pediatric subspecialist. I don't live in the Acreage, but I see in my career hundreds of kids with brain tumors. The first thing as a doctor looking at this group is everyone in the Acreage has to work together to get through this. Within my exposure to some of the patients in this population, try not to isolate each other. There are going to be some families that get afflicted and some families that don't, and I encourage everyone to try to stick together and try to work with each other to help each other through this time. In the meantime, with the statistics in the epidemiological work, there are two clusters in my mind of histologies that were shown to you. There's ependymoma, and there were different grades of glioma. Juvenile pilocytics, glioblastomas, astrocytomas. These are all along one stream of genetic tumor, if you will, whereas the ependymomas are slightly separate. What's unusual to me as a physician, as a brain tumor specialist, is the most common pediatric brain tumor, which is typically seen, is medulloblastoma, which is absent. So there's some interesting stuff there. It's very rare to see a kid with a glioblastoma. They're much more rare than a medullo, and it's just unusual. That doesn't mean with small numbers, and the epidemiologist will appreciate me saying this, with small numbers you have to be careful. The one thing everyone in the crowd has to understand is cancer is an inherently frustrating business. Everyone who does it for a living is frustrated because it's hard to cure. When you try to cure people, you leave people with side effects. There is a large community of experts in the area that are here to help everyone once the problem exists. I'm not an expert with epidemiology, I'm not a government expert. I feel for everyone in the room. What I'm here for is to tell you that there are medical experts in the county that are here to help you. We're going to do everything we can to help you guys, and I don't want anyone in the room to feel like they're left alone without someone to talk to. In the medical community, there's a lot of stress here. Okay, and just move forward. There are people that do this for a living that see this stuff all the time. Glioblastoma for me is a normal thing to treat. I just want to put that in perspective. It's not a fun thing to treat, but for me it's what I do day in, day out. So if anyone has problems or has issues, find someone who's expert, talk to them, get some help, and stick together so that the community doesn't fall apart. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Mr. O'Connor. My name is Greg Dunsford. A group of us is generally considered the starters of all this stuff. I'd like to take a few minutes basically to thank a couple people who have helped us get to this point, and that's State Rep Joseph Abruzzo. He has been there since day one. He's not in my district, but I vote for him for president at this point. I'm not kidding. Anyway, Senator Ehrenberg, who was brought in shortly after Senator Nelson's office, which my dad would hit me in the back of the head with a hatchet because he's Republican. But anyway, I wanted a couple different things in regards to there's not enough of a certain type of cancer, but you're going to throw everything into a cancer cluster, I'm guessing. Well, I've got a number for you. 12. Glioblastoma multiforms in the Acreage. Okay? That's how many we have in our database. Okay? And I think the misconception here is this is not pediatric only. We have 5 times the amount of adults being stricken with brain cancer as we do pediatrics. And my son is one who was stricken with a brain tumor. Okay? 12 glioblastomas is what in our database. And you guys will come back with the cancer registry and say, well, if it's not on here, we don't know. Well, I'm sure most of us would be willing to show the scars if you need the proof that they had something removed from their head. 12 glioblastoma multiforms, would that support a population of what? 2 million? Roughly? One person per 100,000 on the glioblastoma. We'll go conservative. Our community is not 1.2 mil. Okay. You bored us with the charts. We appreciate the charts. We appreciate it. And you're going to have to forgive me. We're very passionate people out here. We like our land and we like our water too. Unfortunately, that looks like we like the guns too. No, a lot of people hunt. Anyway, I would encourage you to continue whatever you're doing, whether it's going to be federal, whether it's going to be local, whether it's going to be state. It doesn't matter at this point. Okay? These people need answers. And I will go over my line for about 2 seconds. I implore you people, you are our neighbors, okay? I ask you, though, to be as civil as you possibly can here tonight. These people, they don't live here, they don't know, okay? But please, let's handle this let's show them the civility that I know that we all have. I know we're angry, and we have a good right to be angry. You know, we've had certain people say some really dumb things to us in the meeting. But other than that, let's help them find the answers. Let's do whatever we can. Thank you.
Thank you. Just very briefly, too, just a reminder, this is being taped for Channel 20. That's the county television station. It will air in its entirety tomorrow night, beginning at 6 o'clock. It will also be posted on Channel 20 or the county website, so you'll be able to look at it in its entirety beginning tomorrow. Like I said, all of this is being documented by them, and it's going to be available to you. So I'm sorry to take your I didn't take your 3 minutes.
That's okay.
Okay, go ahead.
My name is Kathy. I am a radiation oncology nurse. I also am a mother, and I live out in Acreage. I look around, and I know some of these people because they're my patients, which really bothers me. When we have to treat children, when I have 2 children. God bless you, Jesse. God bless you. The people that are sticking up for us, that really have voices that we don't, because I'm nervous as hell. I brought Dr. Buxbaum with me for answers so that we can help my community, because people are calling me left and right. Should we move? What should we do? Is my kid okay? What do I look for? That's what we want. We want answers to what do we look for? What can we do as a community to get rid of this? What can we do? I don't care about financial. Money means nothing at this point because my house is worth nothing. I don't care. My children's lives are worth a lot more than any house that I have already out there. Like Jesse said, and Diane, you guys, Michelle, excuse me, you guys hit it. You said what we need is answers. We need to communicate with each other. You can call me. If I have an answer, I'll give it to you. I'll give it to you, don't worry. Or you call Dr. Buxbaum because he's fantastic. He will help us. I'm dead serious. He will help us. Thank you. God bless you, and no disrespect. Thank you.
Gentleman to my right.
Good evening. My name is Martin Palermo. I live basically about a quarter mile away from the Dunsfords. And last year my daughter was stricken with thyroid cancer. Okay? Does the panel know there's other types of cancer out there that's affecting kids? Are they looking into this?
Let's look outside the box.
Are you aware? Are you looking into this for us? There are other types. There's leukemia. I know a couple of kids that were stricken with leukemia. After our town hall meeting a couple months ago, I had a lady come up to me, young lady, in her 20s. Also, thyroid cancer, just moved away from the Acreage. Since then, I've had 3 phone calls. My family's had 3 phone calls. Thyroid cancer, people that have moved away from the Acreage. What's going on out there? If his numbers weren't enough, how about all these other numbers? With the thyroid, with the leukemia?
2009. How many pediatric brain tumors do you have?
When my daughter had surgery, the oncologist nurse said, I've never seen a pediatric with thyroid cancer. Because normally it strikes younger women in their 20s. okay? Now, my daughter's was found by fluke. Her pediatrician didn't find it a week earlier, but her allergist found it, and it was just a nodule. And through the test, it came out as papillary carcinoma. So, there's stuff out there, and I just want everybody to be aware. You guys are my neighbors. There's other cancers out there than just the brain tumors and the brain cancers.
And very briefly, Dr. Turner or Dr. Watkins, would you like to expound if you're going to look, or how we're going to look for more, if we are, or what's going on?
I can say that when we looked in the first report, we looked at all pediatric cancers, and we didn't see elevation in the category of all cancers for kids. We just saw it for pediatric brain cancers. And so we did not pursue looking at each and every type of pediatric cancer based on not seeing an elevation in that broad picture in the first study. But we did look at, we didn't just go straight to pediatric brain cancer.
Right. And
We
what
did.
you're looking for radium doesn't even cause brain tumors.
No, in the first study we looked at adults and children. And all cancer rate in adults seemed to be elevated, but just a tiny bit. And let me finish. There are 800 or 900 of you, and it's not hard to drown one person out. So let me just try to finish this talk. We did look at all cancers in adults over the time period, and they showed a slight elevation that was not going to be statistically significant with the increase in your population.
If we could...
I understand. I mean, we really do. We're all... We did look at the whole picture, and it pointed to looking at pediatric cancers, brain cancers, as something that needed to be looked at deeper, and that's what we did.
Your report only involves this three. So we're going to switch your bases. There's 12, there's 3. Where are you with this report?
What he was saying, you know, is just that there's a discrepancy. Is it 12? Is it 3? Where are we with this?
And that's what we tried. That's what the county tried to do with that timeline, is just explain why sometimes it looks like 6, sometimes we're talking about 4, sometimes we're talking about 12. It depends on what years you're lumping together. If you're lumping together, if you're looking at the whole span of 1994 to 2008, that's where you get the 12 or 13 cancers.
Okay, wait. If you could just finish, and then we really have to move on to the next question. We can't be taking shout-outs from the crowd. We need to try to keep this orderly. So, Dr. Watkins, if you would just conclude, and then we will go to the madam who's patiently waiting at the microphone.
Okay, so most of the numbers you heard were the 4 and the 6 and the smaller numbers, and that's because, as you saw in that timeline, the number of cases were more frequent in the later years, so we focused on the more recent years. So that's what those numbers are.
Thank you. Madam?
Hi, my name is Camilla, and my daughter lives in the Acreage, and I think you guys are overlooking the fact that everybody's paying about $400 a pop to get their wells and water tested. Somehow they're coming back with radium in the well water. I find it hard to believe that she did a whole grid and never got any, but...
You got her own.
Yeah, we got our stuff. Being at it, I think one of the other things you're overlooking, you say, well, once you treat the water inside the house, it becomes under EPA standards. Well, that's all well and good, that's true. Has anybody ever thought about a carbon filter and how radioactive it becomes once it filters out all the radium-226? And furthermore, everybody's sleeping on the other side of the wall. Now, I have charts here that take 6,000 inches in air, or approximately 500 feet to half the dose of radiation you're getting from that carbon filter. Every time you sprinkle your lawn with that same water, you're irradiating your lawn. Every time your water softener works, you're dumping irradiated water on the ground. And I want to know how you think we're going to get the beds of those of the carbon filters changed without having a nuclear hazard waste company come out and a certified technician, and how much is that going to cost? So I think you need to be looking at carbon filters and how close children are sleeping to those carbon filters, because radium, as it is ingested, tends to cause lymphomas, leukemia, and osteosarcoma once it is stored in the bone. Brain tumors are not among those. I think you need to look some more, and I think you need to provide the people with county water. It's as simple as that. You'll never solve the problem without it.
Okay, John, I think can you address the issue of filtration and radiation and how that works possibly?
First of all, I'll start by radiation follows an inverse square law. If you double the distance, the exposure goes down by 4. And that's plain physics. So 400 inches or 400 to make it, no, that's not correct. If you, no, it's not 6,000. Your calculations are incorrect. I'm sorry about that. I don't care what your chart is, but I can tell you it's incorrect. Now, this is if you use half-valvular things. The fact is, if you double the distance away from a radioactive source, you're going to get 1/4 of the exposure. 1,000 feet from measuring in what? Well, the specific one she has is 200 microarc per hour on contract. Okay, let's say it's 200 microarc per hour at 1 centimeter. Okay, let's double the distance from 1 centimeter to 2 centimeters. We now are at 1/4 of the original exposure. We are now down at 50 microarc per hour. Double it again from 2 to 4. We're now, take 1/4 of 50. We're now at 12.5 microarc per hour. We can double that again. We are now at 8 centimeters. 8 centimeters is about 3 inches, and we are down to...
Not in air. Not in air. And
yes, ma'am, even in air.
Her carbon filter is 200 microrads per hour.
Yes, that's correct. That's the reading that the consultant gave them. But I can also assure you the physics, and if we send somebody out there to measure it, I guarantee you that at doubling the distance, it will be 1/4 of it. That's part of what we are doing, is that the Department of Health is committed that for the 12, we will be sending individuals out to do gamma surveys of the inside of the home and the outside.
Okay.
If there are specific areas where the homeowner is interested, we will actually go out and do more intense surveys on wherever.
Okay, that's fine. Then you change the carbon filter better.
Okay. I think just the point that John just was well made, and I don't know if you heard that or not, but the Bureau of Radiation is committed, has committed, they will be coming out within the next 10 days, and they'll start some radiation testing in the Acreage area. So, I mean, he can't specifically debate the report that the young woman just presented, but I can offer, if you would like to send it to us at the Department of Health or in the Health Department, we'll be happy to get that to John and then talk even from there with the people that compiled that particular report and see if we can reach some sort of a common ground or a better explanation. So, again, that's all we can offer, or what we can offer at this time, and emphasize that this is continuing. So, Madam, if you would have another question over here, please.
First of all, I want to thank you for coming and all the further research you say you're going to do to help us. But my question is more for what can we as parents and residents do right now? We have children that have been living here for years, There's possible exposure to an unknown. According to the media and all the last meetings that I've attended here, we've been told to live in this bubble. Don't walk on the soil barefoot. Don't drink the water. Don't brush your teeth with the water. Limit exposure. Be careful swimming in your pool. Don't launder your clothes there. How are we expected to live here in this bubble, not knowing if it is the water, if it is the soil, if it is the air, but stay put and wait and keep getting your children exposed? What preventative measures do we realistically take, and what medical tests should we have our children tested for now? Blood, urine, what do we need to do right now, today?
Dr. Turner. Dr. Watkins.
You know, my heart, I'm a mother, my heart goes out. I'm serious. So, let me just say that, you know,
If you don't know,
get your well tested. Get your well tested. Provide your home with safety measures in terms of carbon monoxide monitors. Do the things that you know and we understand that we can protect your family. Make sure that you're getting to your doctor if you have concerns about health. And understand that, I mean, everybody up here would like to stand in front of you with a box of tests and say, these are the things we need to do today, and then we get rid of this. And unfortunately, science isn't quite there, and that's why we're reaching out to our federal partners.
the question is what do we do now to prevent? Please answer her question.
I feel like we're being told, just keep waiting, just keep waiting. You know what? While we wait, more kids are getting sick, more adults are getting sick, and we're just waiting. We're just waiting. And I don't want to wait any longer and wake up paranoid every time I want to put ice cubes in my drink and have a soda. I don't want to watch my kids brush their teeth and feel guilty that I might have let them get exposed, knowing that this is a potential health hazard and I don't know what it is. How can I go to sleep at night with this conscience, not knowing, and then sit here and expect, and I appreciate that you don't know, and I would just appreciate it if you don't know, find out in the next couple of weeks so that we do know.
The answer to your question is simple. Most pediatricians in their career see 0 or 1 cancers. Okay, so keep that in the back of your mind. Your pediatrician is not trained in medical school to identify pediatric cancer, okay? So be patient. You have 400 kids coming into your clinic in 3 weeks. They have headaches. You can't scan every kid. It costs too much. Society won't allow it. The insurance companies can't afford it. It will come into it. I'm just trying to give everyone some background. Just wait. I'm on your side. You have to be good parents. You have to follow kids that have irritability, which is a vague medical term, where things are bothering them, they're not listening, they're not answering, they're falling off their growth curves with the pediatrician, they're having visual hearing problems, something's not right. You go through the normal things. Usually there's a trial of antibiotics, a lot of times for sinus, etc. There's not usually the first thing a doctor thinks about is a brain tumor. You don't want to go to a pediatrician who thinks the first thing that your kid has is a brain tumor. That's not the pediatrician you want. So you need to... I think the doctors are struggling to do the best they can in a tough situation now. To be frank, I was on a task force as a national group of children's oncologists, and I proposed that we study the measurement of radiation delivered to children for normal testing, CAT scans, X-rays. Just to do that, to figure out how to do that, it's going to take us 10 to 15 years.
Okay, wait, if we could please, you know, the only thing that, sir, doctor, if we could please, doctor. Again, if I could please, we don't have all your answers tonight. get back to you as quickly as we possibly can.
This is a waste of time.
If we could have the next question, please.
Yeah, my name is Bill. I've been here since 1992.
Please, if you'd like to get in line to ask a question, if you would do so, that would be greatly appreciated. Sir, you have the floor.
My name is Bill. I've been here since 1992. My wife is riddled with cancer. Are you trying to tell me it's only for children that get the cancer? She's got colon mutation to her colon, her ovaries, and her breast. The doctors claim they've never seen it before.
Please, if you would, the gentleman has the floor.
Now, because this cancer cluster is known, her insurance company won't do any treatments for her. So now we're stuck. What do we do?
He's up. Let him talk.
Please,
all right?
Please, if we could have some order, please.
Sorry.
Sir, if you could, we could get your name and your phone
My name
number.
is Bill Hart.
Thank you. But and you live in the Acreage? I don't need to give you the address. Okay.
My mother died right behind the school, riddled with cancer. My wife and I live 5 miles away on 76th Street.
Okay.
She's riddled with cancer. The doctors claim they've never seen it. Now, my question also is, when they came and did the testing, I've been out here from 1992. I've seen them canals go down low. But since they've been testing, that canal on 60th Street has been flood tide. It's all the way up. That means that it's keeping down the rate of the testing results because it's being caught with the water. Come out to the back of my house when there's a drought, you'll see all the fish floating in the canal behind the house. This is poison going into our waters, and I blame U.S. Sugar because the U.S. government owns it. They've been pumping DDT into the ground from 1923 till 1998. What are we going to do about it?
What all I can answer is Ms. John. Ms. John, DEP, I'm sorry. I know you're going to be involved with DOH, CDC, Environmental Protection Agency, etc. Is there any plans, or could there possibly look at those canals that the gentleman is addressing when the parameters, I guess?
The government is the U.S. Sugar Company, okay? That's the government. So, all of you work for the government. How do we know that they didn't send you down here to pacify us? Because all this stuff that you put on the fire, instead of letting us talk to you, you filled this about the radiation.
If we could please, Ms. John, if you would respond briefly, I mean, is it a possibility that we could look at that?
At this point, I would say anything is on the table, but the real next step is working with Department of Health on the actual families that are in their study. You're right, we did test those canals. The important testing that happened back in August was the testing of the Seminole Improvement District and the water coming out of that treatment plant.
Right.
Because we knew you weren't drinking the water in the canals.
Right.
So we had to
They had a reading of 12.6, and then it came back another test, and it was under 5 or 6. So why?
Thank you.
And the only comment about the U.S. Sugar is when we said we tested with a look for both agriculture and industrial, that's part of that thinking. Citrus groves, sugar cane, so those were the kind of parameters we were looking for. Did not find them in that first
Okay. All right, thank you. If we could, Ma'am.
First of all, I want to say my heart goes out to everyone here who has a child that has cancer. It's a horrible thing. You guys keep saying that you're going to test the affected families' homes. Do you not think every person in this auditorium tonight has not been affected? We are all families from the Acreage that have been affected one way or another, whether it be physically, emotionally, financially, mentally. Every day it plagues us. You have now put a stigma on our entire area. We have lost everything that most of these people out here have worked for their entire lives. We don't have insurance companies. Some families don't have health insurance to make sure their children don't have tumors. What is the state going to do for them? Why aren't there mobile units out here doing PET scans on all the kids out here? Why isn't the medical those are the questions. That's what we want to know. We understand you cannot find out where the source is today, but what are you going to do to take care of these people until you give us answers? That's what we want to know.
Dr. Turner?
What we can do is continue to work with your county health department and support your county health department.
Does that pay their bills?
No, it does not.
Does it ensure that this child sitting at home that doesn't have health insurance is going to be tested for a tumor and might not die in 6 months? What is that going to do for the families financially now? That's what we want to know. Now you put a stigma on our entire area. Nobody can sell their homes. Nobody can get any money to pay medical bills from their homes.
Okay, would you please, Dr. Turner, if you could do let her finish, please.
That's the answers that I'm sure most of these people want to know. How are they going to be treated if their child does have cancer? And what are you going to do for us on a federal level? The state level has done nothing. Nothing so far except kept us in the dark and treated us like we're very uneducated.
We don't have control over the issues with insurance companies.
See, that's what I'm talking about. We understand you don't have control over the insurance companies. We understand you don't have control over the homeowners insurance or the mortgage companies. We want to know what you are going to take control over. What are you going to pay for? We know that. We've already been told that by our insurance companies. What is the government? Because nobody out here has done the dumping. Nobody out here has polluted the water. So what are you guys going to do for these people to ensure that they don't get sick or that the people that are sick don't lose everything paying a medical bill?
That is a discussion that I think is even at a higher level than those of us who are here. Because it's a much larger issue that we have to look at as a state. It is a large issue that has to be addressed as a state.
I think if we can, please, let's bring order back in, if we may. If you would, please. Thank you. The only thing that we can say, and Dr. Turner said is a higher authority, but we do have our gentlemen, our representatives in the state legislature on TV, and I'm sure they've heard you loud and clear, and they are on the budget. They're on the budget committees. They are there to try and get you that money. So I would like to pass that on to them. Mark, or one of you, Representative Russo, would you have something to say? Listen up!
We have heard you loud and clear. We are going to do everything we can to bring everybody together, local, state, and federal, to bring down dollars and resources for this very difficult situation.
Yeah, when?
Session starts March 2nd. We are going to look legislatively in any way we possibly can to put it to law bring down, or some actual initiative to bring support to our community.
The governor has spoken on this. He gave us dates for it, so that was encouraging. This is not a partisan issue. This is something that we need to work together on. This is too important. Lives are at stake. And so I don't want to have to wait until March 2nd when the session starts. And to start moving on this right away. I hear what you're saying loud and clear. It is frustrating because you have been waiting long enough. And you deserve answers, you deserve testing, and you deserve emergency dollars to come down and help you right away. So we hear you, and we're going to take your message right across the hall to the governor's office.
Let me say this. Last week,
Thank you, Representative and Senator Aaron Byrd and Representative Abruzzo. If we could move now to gentlemen to the left, my left, your right.
Yeah, my name's Kelly Winslow, and I'm a professional engineer. We've been doing testing in the acreage for about the last 6 months. And I thought it was important to try and answer this lady's question on what you can and cannot do now. You do need to test your water. Okay? We've spent 40 minutes here listening to you guys, and you didn't admit that there are elevated levels of radiation in the water. That's crystal clear, both on the DEP report and on all the test data. 80% of the wells tested, both privately and by the DEP, showed elevated levels of gross alpha radiation. Okay. 10% of the wells tested privately and by DEP showed elevated levels above the thresholds. Okay, that's crystal clear. The DEP went so far to say it's perfectly fine and safe. Okay, but the treatment plant is treating that water with reverse osmosis.